Now I'd like to recognize Nick Rowe, President of Kentucky American Water, for presenting sponsor remarks.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. You know, you got to watch these hot mics and watch what you say, right? What happened with the president this week, so I'm not going to say the wrong thing here. But again, Kentucky Americans, our pleasure to continue to sponsor this event, and thank you for all the other sponsors. You know, I wanted to talk about infrastructure real quickly this morning, but I changed my mind. I thought about a week ago, and we were celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I asked myself, what would he say about America today? What would he say about Lexington, Kentucky? What would he say about all the corporations in this room? And more importantly, what would he say about Nick Rowe and his family, and what are we doing to move the diversity needle? So at American Water, you know, we are in 14 different states and serve in 25 states, 14 million people, and we really stress inclusion and diversity. We start every meeting with a safety moment, first for the safety of our employees nationwide. And secondly, we started this a couple of years ago. We start every meeting with inclusion and diversity moment. Now, why would we do that? Because what it does in these divisive times in America, it makes our employees have dialogue that they otherwise might not have. And it gives them an opportunity to take that back to their neighborhood, to make their neighborhood a little better. It takes it back to their church, to their workplace, with their coworkers. And guess what has happened? And 2 years later, employees are engaging in some very uncomfortable conversations when you start every meeting. So you think about the number of meetings that we have in an organization that you have. What if you start each one with a safety moment, followed by a really brief I&D moment? It really educates them employees and encourages dialogue. So we're pretty proud of that. Trying to live Dr. King's dream in a tough time and try to lead from the front as an organization. And then financially, I think about some things that we've done. You know, our board of directors built a new corporate office in downtown Camden, New Jersey. Why not Atlanta, Georgia? You know, Charlotte, North Carolina. Camden, New Jersey is a very tough community. They're redeveloping along the riverfront. We built a new corporate office there, got some tax incentives, but more importantly, it gives us an opportunity as an organization to create a STEM program for science, technology, engineering, and math, Dr. Liggins, and allow some of those inner city kids to understand a little bit about science. So our CEO said it best. We moved to Camden not to take, we moved to Camden to give back. Then I go in the middle part of the nation. We own operations over in the central part of the U.S. and East St. Louis. We're working in a partnership with Jackie Joyner-Kersee, 5-time medalist, right? An Olympic medalist. She has a foundation, and we're partnering with her to try to give back to that inner city community. Again, spend our dollars where we can make a difference. I think that's what Dr. King wanted us to do, to give everybody an opportunity. Then when I come back to Lexington, we just made a $250,000 grant to the Charles Young Park Foundation. And you'll hear more about that this year. But our whole purpose there is that's a part of our community that sometimes gets neglected. It gives us a chance as a company to give back in a diverse way. So when you think about inclusion and diversity, and a lot of people last week quoted Dr. King, including myself, a lot of companies, you know, quoted Dr. King, but we're over a week removed, and what are we gonna do the other 364 days when we're not quoting him? So we're trying to lead from the front. I'm personally trying to do that with my family and lead in an inclusion, diverse way and accept people where they are. This country needs this right now. Our community needs it very badly in a tough time when this country is very divisive. So I encourage all of our business leaders to try to lead from the front and set an example by our personal actions. With that, I'll turn to Dr. Liggins and Ray, and Johnny, you're gonna come back and introduce them. We look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, and really appreciate the sponsorship by Kentucky American Water. We're pleased to have two leaders in education with us today. Ray Daniels is someone that most of the people in this room is familiar with. Ray is an immediate past chair of Commerce Lexington and also a former member of the Fayette County School Board. We're very happy that Ray agreed to join us today to guide us through this conversation. Commerce Lexington has a long history of supporting collaborative efforts with FCPS, from building upgrades to the recent school safety improvement efforts to the work with the Career Academy Initiative. Commerce Lexington has been very involved for a very long time. You can read Dr. Liggins' full bio in your program today, but in summary, Dr. Liggins is a seasoned educator with 21 years of experience. This includes time as a high school teacher, an elementary school, middle school, and high school principal. And as a superintendent, just prior to joining FCPS, Dr. Liggins served for 4 years as superintendent of schools in the Greenville Independent School District, an urban district of roughly 6,000 students outside Dallas, Texas. Our luncheon today marks the 6-month anniversary of since Dr. Liggins took office. Dr. Liggins, I want to say before we start, in many ways, the job you have can be a thankless job. It can be a long, tiring job, but it's a job that this community very much needed someone with your expertise and dedication to have. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for being here today. I'll turn it over to you, Ray.
All right, can you guys hear me? Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Appreciate your leadership. And Nick, thank you for the great words to start today. So we want to jump right into it, but before we do that, Amy, where's Amy at? Amy Green is here. School board member Amy. I don't know if you guys are aware, this is School Board Appreciation Month. School Board Appreciation Month. And I don't know if you, as a former school board member, we ought to give a hand clap to that. These folks generally meet 2 times a month as mandated, with 2 meetings a month. Our school board has met 50 times over the past year. That is their commitment to our community, to the students, to our parents, to our teachers. So quite frankly, the whole table over there, I think, works for Fayette County Schools, with the exception of one who works at BCTC. But everybody at that table, will you stand up real quick? We appreciate everything that you do. Thank you. All right, so that was the easy part. We have assembled secret documents of questions for Dr. Liggins. No, as John said, this is a friendly space, Dr. Liggins, and what we want you to do in this conversation is just share with us, tell us some of the things that you're working on, some of the outcomes that are expected, some of the challenges that you have, some of the supports that you need from us, and just really just give us an update. So the first question is, so you've been here 6 months now. What do you think?
That's a loaded question. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here and for giving me this opportunity. I learned earlier that, attendance had been kind of down a bit since the pandemic, but before the pandemic, there were huge crowds, and so I've made it. I will keep coming back until I beat Mitch McConnell's record, which was apparently over 400 folks. But thank each of you for being here. It truly has been. Tomorrow actually marks my 6-month anniversary on the job, and it truly has been. In the beginning, it was extremely overwhelming with the amount of just the welcoming I was receiving. Everyone was so genuinely glad to meet me and offering any support that they could offer to our school system. And so it really has been a great entry. The staff you just had stand up is one of the best ever. I mean, they work day and night to make sure that we're doing what's best by kids. And I've truly enjoyed the last 6 months. I will tell you the seasons have been great. I came during the summer and got a little bit of experiencing that. The fall was absolutely gorgeous. The first snow, I was really excited about it, looking at it from inside out, not driving in it. But now I'm a bit over it. And so, but no, it's been pretty good.
Good.
Let's talk about some of the ways or the impacts of the pandemic on the school district. Let's talk about everything that's near to our heart, which is workforce. What are you doing to address the staffing issues at Fayette County Public Schools?
That has been an issue, obviously. It's an issue that we are experiencing in every industry, and not just here locally, but throughout our great nation. And some of the things that we've done to try to combat it is we've actually given a raise for the first time in 5 years. Was given this summer to staff. We've also taken a lot of our stimulus funds to give incentive pay for hard to staff position. Our bus drivers are making more per hour this year. We're incentivizing them coming to work on days that are typically very low attendance rates. And we've hired a full-time recruiter for hard to staff positions. And so, and also we're a team, a lot of those folks at that table over there who are administrators and work with schools and high-level positions. Sometimes you will see them in a classroom because we need someone in the classroom as a teacher substitute, and we don't have enough. We're doing that. You'll see them serving meals to our students when we don't have enough. But we're trying to be as creative as we can. And obviously that is something that everyone is, we're trying to fight for the same small pot of employees right now, but we're being as creative as we can to make that happen.
Thank you for your effort, and I'm sure the teachers were appreciative of the raise and all the incentives that you have given inside the school district. Let's talk about learning loss. That's a question we get quite frequently, is how is the school district going to approach what is obviously have been a couple of years of learning loss?
Yeah, this has probably been one of the most frustrating things that I've had to experience since being here, because when coming in, July 26th was my first day on the job, and we were, a vaccine had been introduced, cases were on the decline, and we were looking forward to having a normal, quote unquote, normal year. And seriously, I think the moment I came in is when Delta came in. And so we really had to pivot and figure out exactly what we're going to do. We started looking again at quarantine protocols and how we're going to, deal with teachers that are out and people who have been exposed or are positive. And it really caused us to really look at the classroom and say, how is this going to impact instruction moving forward? Because we also know that when students are in class, although we do have alternative methods of instructing, what the pandemic has taught us is it's better than just staying home and doing nothing. It's not nearly as effective as being in person for the majority of students, sitting with their teacher, getting that quality instruction. And so it's been something that we've just focused on, making sure academically we're solid when kids are there. When we do have at-home instruction, we're making sure that it's absolutely rigorous enough and it's something that our students can find meaningful, and also just doing the best we can to have protocols in place to prevent kids from having to be at home due to illness.
Thank you for that. Let's talk mental health. Mental health is important to adults as well as our children. What are some of the supports that Fayette County Schools is bringing to bear to assist on the mental health front for our students?
Well, I think that this was probably the biggest surprise for educators in general. We knew about the learning loss. We knew kids were home and they weren't learning as effectively as they would have been if they had been in person. And we really did not realize the impact that the isolation and the lack of socialization had on our students and on our staff, quite frankly, and how that would impact the school year. And we did, as a district, we provided throughout the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic when students were home, offered mental health services because we just realized that was an important piece to be done. But coming back this year alone, we've had, and we're in January but since the beginning of the school year, we've had over 300,000 referrals for mental health services for our students. We're seeing more drastic cases of mental health issues than we've ever seen before, and we're really the good thing is we have a great team that can provide these services, but we're really it's tough. It's tough. Our kids are having hard times. Our teachers are having hard times. One of the discussions and meetings I was having yesterday is how can we provide more for our the adults in our buildings now because we have such a well-oiled machine for our students, but we're also needing to really do something a little bit more for our adults as well. So we're
No,
continuing
thank
to
you for that.
improve
300,000 referrals. That's pretty incredible. And I know we have looked at our calendar over the past year. Can you speak to some of the changes we have instituted in the school calendar to kind of give a break to teachers and students alike and staff?
Yeah, this made me very popular right around early November. I took it to the board to have a full week in Thanksgiving off. You know, typically it was, I believe it was 3 days. It was that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But when I tell you this is a stressful year for our teachers, for our students, for our parents, for everyone involved. And it was just at a point to where teachers were at their wits' end. And as a leader, I really had to weigh the option of, we have kids who have missed so much school and so much learning that we just talked about due to the pandemic. But now we're looking at giving them 2 extra days at home. But really, when weighing the options, it was our teachers came back so much more ready to teach and continue quality instruction by having those 2 additional days off. So the return on investment was priceless. It was absolutely necessary. And so and we're looking now at our calendar for next year and taking that before the board next month to see if there's something we can do to provide a little bit more relief throughout the year, especially if we can see some of the high levels of stress and mental health days that are necessary.
Okay. Let's shift over to the kind of an update on the 10-point safety plan, or what we originally called the 10-point safety plan. That's an initiative that Commerce Lexington was out in front of and supported a tax that was created to implement safety across our schools. Can you give us an update on where we're at several years into the 10-point plan, and where do you see us going, and where are we going to put those supports going forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, I will tell you what I read when I was researching the district, even during the interview process. I was quite thoroughly impressed with the 10-point safety plan. It was very innovative, forward-thinking, and really, I mean, I hadn't seen it anywhere else in our nation. So kudos to all of you and previous Superintendent Minnicock and his team for putting that together. And we continue to talk about the 10-point safety plan and to implement it. And of course, we have some of the various things, whereas we have our police force that are in our school systems, we have in our high schools, we have systems in place to help with ensuring that we don't have deadly weapons that are coming onto campus and things of that sort. But one of the things that has really helped us is with our mental health services. We now have mental health services on every single campus. We're able to make sure that our students have a hotline to where they can call 24 hours a day. We have someone that actually works after hours for kids and families who may need services from an individual after school has ended. And so a lot of it has really gone into personnel and to making sure that we have people in place that are going to provide the services that our kids need. But also some of it has gone into like these apps and the promotion of, this is what you do when you're in crisis, or if you're suicidal, here's a quick way to get assistance or to answer questions. We also have, with all of our students, have technology devices now. That's a system to where we can capture if a kid is actually typing something that is alarming. So if a kid is typing, Googling, how do I kill myself? Or that's something that will automatically be flagged, and we'll know exactly who that kid is, and there's a process in place to where someone, whether it is in the middle of the night or if it's in the middle of the day, someone can reach out to that kid and really make sure that they get involved.
Awesome. Yeah, that plan continues to be funded and continues to support our school district and has many good intended consequences and unintended consequences that go along with it. So as you get integrated in Kentucky, you are fully aware this is a budget year. And what are some of your legislative priorities?
Well, I will tell you the good thing about, the state is pretty healthy financially right now, so that comes with its good and bad, obviously. So we obviously would like to see education funded completely. In years past, there's really has not been a raise given to education for quite some time. As it stands currently, transportation is still about 15% of transportation is funded, and so that really is the responsibility of individual districts to do. And we, Fayette County is considered a wealthy district, so a lot of our tax dollars go back to the state to be distributed elsewhere. And so we so one major priority is to make sure that the state is doing their job of funding public education thoroughly and the way it should be. We're also very much in favor of anything that's going to help us with our career and technical education and advancing that. That is definitely the future of education. It's making sure that our kids have the skills necessary in order to be productive citizens once they leave us. And so not just academically, but they have an actual job skill that they can lean on and have as well. And also anything that's going to continue to help with mental health is something that we're very much prioritizing, because that's an important piece that we're dealing with right now.
Okay, let's talk about Senate Bill 1. That's obviously a bit controversial in that the superintendent will now have the ability to take some of the control away from school-based decision councils. What are your thoughts about some of the leeway of hiring principals and making decisions when it comes to curriculum? And what are the intended consequences of that you think Fayette County schools will take advantage of?
Well, research will tell you the most influential person to student success outside of the classroom teacher is the campus principal. That's just absolute fact. It was somewhat shocking to me when because that was something I did not study beforehand, did not realize, is that superintendents did not have the authority to hire this critically important person. And so I feel that's definitely a step in the right direction. And I think one of the things that, and I've had this discussion with various teachers and teacher groups, is you don't have to be either for Senate Bill 1 or against site-based decision-making teams. You can share a common space, because there's still plenty. I would never hire a principal without including feedback from the campus, making sure that the campus and those parents and the community of that school had some say in it. But I can appreciate the fact that I have an opportunity to say, yeah, this principal has a great personality, you love them, but their data from their previous school does not indicate that they're going to do a good job continuing forward. And I think that comes with having the almost a veto power, so to speak, and say, this is who's going to be the best for it. And quite often, that's usually, if it's not the number one person, it's usually someone that all parties can live with.
Okay. I think for our community especially, we have had some very effective school councils. Our question has always been around diversity of those councils. And so do we have any ideas or plans how you can get more diverse voices interacting at the school, on the school level, in that advisory role?
I think in general in our community, we have a quite diverse community. That's one of the things I love about Lexington. I think we have to figure out a way to increase our outreach to individual families and to individual groups, and not only let them know that we would like them to participate, but create opportunities for them to do so, and creating opportunities to where they're not feeling as if they're being intrusive by coming in, but that they're actually welcome and they're recognized. I think sometimes when you walk into a room and you don't see yourself, you're less likely to walk back into that room again. And so if we can have more representation, and when we have things such as that, and being intentional about it, and that is some of the things that we're working on to make sure that we're much more intentional about our public engagement and community outreach, and that's inclusive of languages as well.
Let's dig into diversity a little bit more since Nick brought it up. The city, y'all blame that on Nick. So the city has, several leaders, Commerce Lexington being the first and foremost, has been committed over the last year and a half to really focus on driving minority procurement and minority spend in our community. This came after several organizations were fairly outraged with the poor performance of several of our public spend partners, so to speak. We've made some pretty good progress over the last year. We've seen some numbers start to turn. What is the plan at Fayette County Schools to continue to drive procurement and spend in the community? A business, an organization, or even a public entity that spends money with their community members and gives them opportunities to be involved in the procurement process or the spend process or the vending process is usually a pretty healthy community that's building a strong working class of individuals. So what is the plan for Fayette County Schools, or how do you plan to address that to bring the numbers up, so to speak?
Well, we actually have a department dedicated just to that, that is about looking for women-owned and minority-owned businesses. And there's a twofold to that. We're teaching an educational piece to it, to where we have, because many times these are smaller businesses, that they are newer businesses, and so we're teaching them how to get through the bureaucratic process that is just involved with working with a governmental entity like a school district. So really doing training on, if you'd like to do business with Fayette County Public Schools, this is how you go through the process. This is what you should do. And so having ongoing and regular classes in order to teach those things. And also we have an outreach piece to where we're actually reaching out to individuals that we are become aware of, or through research, to make sure that we're able to reach out to them and say, you provide a service that we could use, and we'd really like to see if you could come do business with us. And so along those two lines, we're working to increase that significantly. And we're also making sure that we're looking for opportunities for when our individuals within the district are ordering supplies and are ordering services, that they too must look and see if a minority or a woman-owned business is an option. And if it is an option, really saying, why didn't you go with them if you're not going with them, and really justifying why we're not. So we have a goal to really increase that amount quite a bit.
Okay. I mean, it's a huge focus in our community, and we appreciate your commitment to it. Workforce, something that's near and dear to the heart of most people in here today, is trying to figure out how to align our students in our community with our needs directly. I would imagine UK and BCTC and other business leaders are very concerned about how the district focuses on that alignment. And how can we help you to support you in that alignment? I know we started the career academies several years ago, and you've had a chance to interact with them over the last couple of months. But what are some of the opportunities that you think exist to kind of work on that alignment with the actual workforce needs that we have in Central Kentucky?
I think it's immense. I think this is one of the most exciting things that is happening in our district when it comes to partnerships and being able to have community input and community support. As you mentioned, the academies of Lexington are all based on industry standards and what demographically and what census will tell us. This is what's growing in our area. This is where there's a deficit in the workforce. And so we're focusing on making sure that those students have every opportunity in order to get that skill set. We're making sure that children are graduating high school with an industry recognized certification, and whether they decide to move on to pursue that career, whether they decide to go do something else, they have that in their pocket and something that they can use. One of the things that the business community can definitely help with. And this has been somewhat lower due to the pandemic, which is understandable, but internships and job shadowing and co-ops and really finding opportunities for our students to get involved. And even as young as in middle school, signing up for career fairs and to letting kids understand, what options there are so that they can explore what interest they have particularly. But this is something that's truly going to transform our community long term, and that's absolutely necessary. And we're committed to making sure that we are only providing the services and the certifications that our students need in order to work in Central Kentucky, and what the data is telling us is going to be forthcoming and necessary. And we're also working on a marketing, from a marketing standpoint, to where our families and our students don't have that stigma. There's somewhat of a stigma that it's going away slightly, that if you're going to be workforce ready when you graduate, you're not necessarily going to college. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Plenty of our students can graduate with industry certifications where they can go off and start a career, be extremely successful and do well. But plenty of them also use that same skill set that they've learned and go on to college and pursue something completely different. My kid, for example, before going, he in high school got a pharmacy tech certification, and went to college, and he worked on the weekend working at a local pharmacy, fulfilling prescriptions, working with a pharmacist, and made more money in that weekend than I made flipping burgers in college. And so it was really something that he really was able to give back to the community and to the industry, and that's kind of what we're looking at now. So it really provides ample opportunities for our students to be able to really give back. I also think it's important to mention that we would really like to work with our partners for advisory roles and making sure that we're using the latest and greatest of industry standards and the equipment, because there's nothing worse as if we have a piece of equipment that is outdated, but yet the Toyota's looking for something else. And so really having that partnership and advisory to where they can say, this is where we're at, and also this is where we're going, because we have students that will be graduating, and if they're freshmen this year, they could very well 10 years from now, we need to know what is it that this industry is looking at, so we can start preparing our kids for that now.
Well, that leads to this CTE question. So the governor was here, I guess in the summer, and committed $10 million toward the former Harold Leader building and toward our CTE center. And someone at that press conference remarked that when that center is said and done, it should be the best CTE center in the South. So when you put that kind of label on it, and I'm not saying that was you, that was actually me, I said it. But when you put that kind of label on it, and I put that kind of label on it, and we have all of these great leaders in the room, and you've talked about advisory commitments and kind of having an outlook about what are the biggest impacts for Central Kentucky, and trying to make sure that that building, that opportunity, that square footage is a world-class representation of what a community can do and uplift in the CTE realm, and the opportunity of these great paying jobs and these partnerships that could happen as a result of it across all industry sectors. How far are we really imagining what we can do there, and what kind of team, and not to put you on the spot, and this is the only question I'm going to give you today, put you on the spot a little bit, is we were meeting, we're talking, we're all trying to figure this thing out together, because we're all trying to figure out, with the funding that can come from different places, how can we have impacts? Ultimately, when it's all said and done, companies want to know, do they have a pipeline to get to students? And if there is a pipeline, how can I support that pipeline? Universities, Transy, UK, BCTC want to know, what are the career fields? What are the actual careers should we be focusing on that these students can take advantage of, that will entice them to come to my university, my school. So how can we all partner together to really make that the best CTE center in the South?
Well, that's definitely the plan. And the great thing about this, and if you're not aware, it's the old Harold Leader building, which is really it's a huge shell of a space. And so the great thing about it is it really provides us the opportunity to make it into whatever we'd like it to be. And it's right in the middle of downtown. And so we envision this being not only an FCPS facility, this will be a facility for our community. This will be a facility for our surrounding communities, and to even have people come in and visit to see exactly what we're doing. And it will be made, we're starting out, obviously there's a plan based off of current data and census that states this is what the industry partners are needing at this point. But it's being built to where that can, if we find in 20 years that, for example, one particular thing, what's what was the big one, Carl, where we have the big space with the, it was something with BCTS, we're doing, it needed to be really big. Was it aviation parts or something?
Yeah, we were talking about aviation.
Yeah, so, but it's being made to where we can actually, if it doesn't have, if that light goes out and there's no longer an industry that we're needed, it's not stuck with what do we do with that space. We can easily transition into this is the next and greatest thing and this is what we need to do. And we plan on actually having opportunities there for our partners to be in that building themselves. And so you can actually come in, whether you're a student, we're providing services and we're providing courses and hands-on experiences, but also having opportunities where businesses can come in and watch what students are doing, where businesses can come in and hold interviews in that location, where businesses can come in themselves and partner and, having a actual workstation to where that is very similar to the ones they have in their own particular spaces, and shadow or give examples and help teach. Also, all of our instructors the vast majority of our instructors are actually practitioners. These aren't people who've necessarily gone to school to be a teacher. They've gone to school to be an engineer, and thus they're teaching engineering. They've gone to school to do the variety of the different tasks that we have. So the vision is massive, and I think we definitely have the team. We continue to work on it. It will be a state-of-the-art facility. Will continue to be, the vision is it will continue to be state-of-the-art. So like I stated earlier, it will continue to transform as our community transform, as the business needs transform and change. We will definitely change with that, and it's being built originally for the purpose of constant transition based off of the needs.
Okay. I think we will take just maybe a couple of questions if you have something that we haven't, that's in a bucket that we have not hit. Alan will give you the first one. But before we do that, Superintendent Liggins, do you have anything strategically that you like to say to us as a group? If we can advocate more for the school district, if we can get more involved at individual schools, anything that's a challenge for you that we can help or assist with, or if you just want to say, happy to see you guys. But I'll open the floor to you to just...
Well, I assume everyone in this room is pretty busy with their own personal responsibilities, but if you know anyone, we're always looking for bus drivers and substitute teachers. So that is really a great way that can help us right now. That's truly been a challenge for us. We did get off the news every morning for council buses, fortunately, but it does continue to be an ongoing dilemma that we're facing due to the labor shortage.
All right, we'll take a couple of questions, and you'll have to stand up and speak loudly because I'm not going to run down here with a mic. This one, Alan Stein. Yes, sir.
I'm well, sir.
Our Lexington over the last 20 years has significantly stepped forward to assist and support Fayette County Public Schools. You addressed a couple of those areas that we were very proud to be a part of, the academies of Lexington and the 10-point safety plan. Both were initiatives that addressed already the safety tax and the academy, an update on the facility tax and how much impact that has had moving forward.
Okay, he's asking if you guys didn't hear on that in about the facilities tax and how that is impacting the school system. Well, it really has helped us maintain the overall the plan that indicates when campuses are being either remodeled or completely rebuilt. Currently, we're in the process of rebuilding Tates Creek High School, which will be open next fall. And we're continuing to look, and we are on task for the most part in every other area. That we were on target, obviously, to build a new middle school that was delayed. The board decided to delay and to wait out the market because it came in well over 50% above original price. And so really looking long term, and with the uncertainty of the market, it was decided, let's wait and see where we're going to land before moving forward. That will probably be revisited by the board later this spring to see if that's something that we continue to move forward with. But it's truly been very helpful. Our buildings, for the most part, are very well maintained, and every campus is on a rotating basis to make sure that they are kept up to date, and no particular campus gets completely outdated without having an opportunity to be visited for updated instructional facilities.
Thanks, Alan. Any other, maybe a couple more questions? In the back, and then I'll come to you, Melissa.
Great point. Thank you. And I think this year, as I stated earlier, there's so much happening on campuses. Our campuses, unfortunately, this year are just trying to survive. And so we probably haven't been nearly as responsive as we should be. We have a public engagement office. And so if you will always go through our public engagement office, they will be able to really assist in making sure that we're connected. There's individuals in there that are working directly with business owners and business leaders. And so on our website, if you just go to public engagement, we'll make sure that we can get you in touch. And even with our individual campuses, if you'll go to that central location, we can get you in touch with the campuses as well.
And then, Tiffany, if that doesn't get you all the way there, you can contact the Business Education Network at Commerce Lexington. Betsy is here. Betsy, if you wave your hand, you can contact. Yeah, y'all been, I know. And then let Betsy just call everybody up there and get you the attention you deserve. As you said, it's a big operation. They've got not only 40,000 plus students to worry about every day, teachers and staff and openings and so on and so forth. So if we can assist at Commerce Lexington in any way, we'll do that, of course. Former board chair, Melissa Bacon.
Okay, the question was about diversity at central office and the Equity Council. We have a system in place to where every single applicant that applies, or every single interview committee has to have a diverse interview committee and a diverse candidate pool. And so that's been of critical importance to us. We also have a recruiter that is basically that they're a minority recruiter. They travel around the state and the country going to educational workshops and really promoting Fayette County Public Schools and recruiting individuals from various backgrounds and ethnic groups, because we obviously want as much representation of and to mirror our student population as much as possible. And the Equity Council is a live and functioning. In fact, we have a retreat planned for them coming up in the next month, as well as a retreat with the Equity Council and the Board of Education in May. And so it's an opportunity for our community to be a lot more involved in looking at issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really making sure that that's always front of mind for us. And so thank you for that question, Ms. Bacon.
Yes, ma'am. One more.
So, I'm looking at all the children
Yeah, the dilemma we face with that is we have an extremely rigorous and appropriate curriculum that's going to be the most impactful way to catch students up. The dilemma that we've had is this school year, we've continued to have kids in and out of school constantly, or if it wasn't a kid, it was actual teacher themselves. And so we continue to make sure that when we do have everyone in place, that every moment counts. There's an expectation that we just continue to teach. We're teaching on level. We're filling in gaps as we go along. The first semester data, believe it or not, was quite surprising and quite pleasing. Kids made up much more games than we had anticipated them being able to make up. So it's going in the right direction, even as we continue to struggle with kids being in and out of school due to COVID and other illnesses. But it's definitely front of mind, and it's definitely our number one priority. And we always say our number one job is student success. And so we're doing everything possible we can to make that happen, even considering the circumstances.
All right, one more. We'll sneak in one more. Yes, ma'am.
She's asking about kids getting an opportunity to repeat a grade. That is always a discussion between the teacher and the parent. And so that's always an option, but that comes with several impacts and repercussions. And so that's always a discussion between the teacher who's closest with the kid educationally and the parent who's closest with them. And sometimes it may even bring in a counselor as well. But that's always been an option. I do not know enough about that to answer it intelligently, but I will. My high school chief is over there, Dr. McMillan, so he will be able to answer that for you.
We'll get that answer for you as soon as we break. Ms. McMillan, you'll raise your Chief McMillan, raise your hand. That's who you want to go see. He'll get that answer for you directly. So very appreciative of your time, Dr. Liggins. Thank you for your heartfelt words, and thank you for your commitment to our community and everything you do.
And I would just like to finish by saying, on behalf of Commerce Lexington, thank you very much for coming today. The work you do is obviously very important to our students, to the success. But as we've said many times, it's vital to our workforce going forward and the business community in Lexington. So thank you so much.